All right. All right, good evening. This is Carbon County Commissioner Chris Lukasevich. I'm joined by my wife Maggie. This is Carbon Matters live streaming. This is our Veterans Day, 11 November 2021 edition. I am joined, of course, by Maggie, who is my most loved veteran in the world, the former Staff Sergeant Maggie Lukasevich. Started out as Maggie Marshall, PFC, right? And then when you got married, Spec 4, was that right? Right. So Maggie and I actually met in the military at DLI, San Francisco Defense Language Institute. So this is our Veterans Day edition of Carbon Matters. And what we're going to do is start out our normal way. We're going to talk about those issues most relevant to Carbon County residents, particularly as it pertains to county government and the issues of the day. But the entire second half, we're going to be joined by first Christine LeClaire, our Director of Veteran Affairs.
Just to make sure that if people are.
Yeah, or you can do it right here, actually.
How is that?
Just turn up your volume and you'll hear me.
Oh, okay.
Affairs. Right. So we'll be joined by, about halfway through the program, we'll be joined by Christine LeClaire, our Director here in Carbon County of Veterans Affairs, and also joining us from afar, Mike and Sarah Wardgo, who are the advocates for the Memorial Mile, which we're going to talk about, which is the plan is for that to be out in Kidder Township out on Meckus Lane. So big night tonight because of our three special guests, but as regularly done, we're going to start out with some of the lighter fare and then move into the more heavy topics. If you have a comment or a question, just put it in the Facebook feed. Again, this is Carbon Matters live streaming. Thank you for being with us on this Veterans Day. It's been a unique week for us here in the household, but we're happy to be with you on this Veterans Day. I've just had a multitude of veteran activities this entire week here in Carbon County.
Yeah.
Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Carbon Matters live streaming. I'm Carbon County Commissioner Chris Lukasevich, joined by my wife Maggie. Both of us proudly haven't had the opportunity to serve and meet in the U.S. Army, some about 38 years or so ago. A long time ago. I said about 38, right? But it's not like I'm measuring our anniversary, so I just have to be in the ballpark, right? But I apologize, I'm sounding a little nasally, more so than often, I should say, because I have a nasally voice regularly. And so,
under the weather.
Yeah, a little bit under the weather, but
Typical for this time of year, everybody's under the weather.
I guess. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's start it real light, but something maybe I think that just popped up. I think we saw it in the last night or two in the paper, but I know Dennis DeMar of the Wildlife Conservancy has been mentioning in both public and private forums, and that's the 2,700 acres that are going to be preserved. The Wildlife Conservancy now has those under their protection up in the Weatherly area. So again, our natural environment is our most valuable resource here in Carbon County. So it was great to see that another little chunk of Carbon County and then up in the northern tier will be protected in perpetuity and with public access to that property. So thanks so much for the Wildlife Conservancy for their work and effort. They are currently working with us, the Board of Commissioners, on another really big initiative in order to find the resources to better protect our agricultural land, so ag land preservation, and to also protect our open spaces. And I think you'll be hearing a lot about that probably in the second or third week in January from the Carbon County Board of Commissioners. So thank you, Wildlife Conservancy, for that.
Bev's watching.
Hi, Bev. Hope you're doing well. Look forward to seeing you in the near future. All right.
Make sure you check in and then we can do a shout out.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, if you're just joining us, this is Carbon Matters live streaming. This is the 11 November Veterans Day edition. The second half, we're going to be joined by Christine LeClaire, our Veterans Affairs Director here in Carbon County, and Mike and Sarah Wargo, who are the advocates in the lead tip of the spear for the Memorial Mile, which is a national monument for the casualties for the war at home. Want to mention the Carbon County Animal Shelter continue to do great things out there.
So someone made a comment, Dennis Haley.
HJBIG, right?
Right.
Yeah, yes.
We need help stopping Greystone Preserve, 4,000 acres of prime wilderness being developed for an executive gun club.
Where's that at, Dennis?
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything come.
Greystone,
I haven't seen anything come to the Carbon County Planning Commission yet on that.
4,000 acres.
Yeah. So if you could provide me some
Yeah, a little bit
details.
more detail on that.
And again, like I said, a big initiative coming out in January that might help us examine development of property. Again, if it's about protecting our open space, protecting our agricultural land, I'm going to be a big supporter of that. Again, return on the environment study that was done a few years ago definitely showed the value of our open spaces and our agricultural land, which is
Yeah.
part of that.
I think what his point is with it being an executive gun club, it wouldn't be open to
The
the
public.
public. Yeah. It seems like.
Yeah, okay, that may be the point. Okay, Carbon County names Animal Shelter Commission.
South of Hickory Run State Park, north of Pleasant Valley West, straddles Kidder, Penn Forest. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to some of the supervisors. I know
Yeah.
Wilson was just elected. Bruce Berger is out there at Kidder, obviously Christian, Tom Cross and folks out at Penn Forest and stuff like that, see what they know about that. Carbon County names Animal Shelter Commission. This was a big push of mine that I was hoping for, right? I brought in the Lehigh Valley Humane Society, some subject matter experts to do an assessment, risk and operations assessment of the shelter. One of their recommendations was to name a shelter commission that will be standing up in January. The individuals have been named and notified, and about a month or so ago, we did the actual naming of those in the Board of Commissioners meeting. So I look forward to their first get together to help take that animal shelter, really a dog shelter, to the next level of effectiveness, proficiency, serving the animals and looking out for the safety of the animals, the people who work there and the visitors, the Carbon County Animal Shelter. A lot of work to do up there.
I had the privilege of working the polls with one of the members, and she's amazing, like super qualified.
Oh, one of the
Yeah.
member, the named individuals.
Yes,
Yep.
I look forward to seeing what she brings to the table.
Yeah, and she reached out to us very early on, what extremely well qualified as were all the candidates for that commission. And it is an advisory commission. It's like the Parks and Rec Commission. That is, it doesn't really make decisions on its own. It makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners for implementation, creation of programs for resources and things of that nature. Carbon updates COVID-19 policy. We do continue to see a spike in COVID-19 throughout Carbon County, although I thought there was a flattening taking place nationally. And basically what this policy is, and it did create a little bit of a stir up, but it's simply that the county will provide 10 days of paid leave for those who come down with COVID or become contact with someone who has COVID, based upon their doctor's recommendation. There is a tie-in to the vaccine for this, that individuals who have decided to accept the risk of not having the vaccine, and I fully support that.
I had a comment.
Yeah.
Donna Donati says, Tom Connors is a fabulous man working with the dogs at the dog shelter.
Yep.
Yes, he is.
Working extremely hard.
He is amazing.
And you know what? The county has to provide him the resources to do the job. Now, fortunately, I think with the Shelter Commission, there will be that additional voice
Mhm.
that the shelter doesn't have. Mock Chunk Lake Park has a Parks and Recreation Commission. So that is a voice for those who love, Mock Chunk Lake Park. So I think, this is extremely a positive.
Yeah, this is in no way saying he wasn't doing his job. I mean, it's like helping him be able to do his job more effectively. And it's not in any way saying, I mean, he's a dog whisperer, everybody knows that.
Right,
So,
yeah. And again, we
it's
all
just-
have our strengths and
Yeah,
weaknesses.
yeah.
The Lehigh Valley Humane Society's report is still on the county website. It identifies strengths and weaknesses, right? We want to enhance
Mhm.
the strength, reinforce them, and then we want to correct the deficiencies that they've found.
Found.
Talking about up on the Broad Mountain, a place for firefighters to train, the Emergency Operation Training Center, there's a $5 million bill coming down. And what was the big plan? That was gonna be, what, at least 50% funded by grants? Not gonna happen. Again, Emergency Operation Training Center, as I've always said, we must have the best trained, equipped, educated emergency services personnel in a fiscally responsible manner. This is definitely a reduction from the Taj Mahal, which, if I recall properly, was originally about $12 million. It had another a classroom. It had a COG, a council of governments, a shed on, all kinds of things. So at least got it down to a little bit more reasonable. I'd love to take all that concrete and make a skateboard park. All right.
Okay, we're not in any way saying that the firefighters don't deserve a training center. If anything, there was a better location, I think, and this is just my opinion. Packard and Yards, there's water, there's gas.
Natural gas, yeah.
Natural gas, and then you can't build anything there where people can live because it's a floodplain.
Right.
Put a fire tower there. They have all the river water they can use to turn out the, to hose it down. Broad Mountain has no water.
Well, yeah.
So
the
the
logic, the logic of the location,
The
it was
location.
definitely
And the cost
lacking.
involved,
Yeah,
because it would have been so much cheaper to do it on the, in Packard and Yards. They have the gas line right there.
natural gas line.
Natural
Yeah.
gas
Well,
line.
now what they're going to have to do, if they have any of the training devices, they're going to have to use propane. Propane is an oil product. It is more expensive, obviously. Trucking it in versus having a gas line right there. You see in Packard, right? We have a natural gas pumping station there that
Right.
keeps setting up seasonal. All right, so
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
So we're
Oh,
not against firefighters having training. We're against them doing it in a stupid place. That doesn't make sense.
well, the crazy thing I found, Maggie, is so the Huntington Fire Company, I'm understanding, supported the Emergency Operations Training
Now
Center,
they're
which
working-
includes a tower.
But
Now
they're-
Lehighton
it's gonna-
continues to seek their own training
Yeah, they're
tower.
gonna build their own.
I don't think we need to within 7 miles.
Well,
as it goes.
there's the whole thing was, well, we don't have to share with everybody else.
Well, again, I still think that's crazy. I don't think Carbon County needs 2 towers.
No.
If I would be outraged if I was a Lehighton taxpayer
Oh
personally.
my gosh, yeah, because then not only are they.
Are they paying the
paying
county?
one, but they're paying the.
Yeah,
the Lehigh one, yeah.
All right, closed bridge leading to safety concerns. Yeah, this bridge is problematic out at Penn Forest Township. It's been closed for
A while.
multiple years. I know
Mhm.
we had some folks come to the commissioners meeting, had a handful of phone calls in regards to this bridge, where you have children and others who are crossing a closed bridge. Supposedly part of the problem was where the school bus stop was. I did reach out to John Rashevsky. We'll have to follow up on that. Haven't heard from the citizens of this area here lately. The county plan of action is to get our engineer out there and give a recommendation, either tear it down or rebuild it. Understand though, PennDOT has, I think it's their 11-year plan that you have to get on. Then that 11-year plan goes on to their 4-year plan. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. I think first and foremost, if it's a school bus stop issue, you got to have a school bus stop on each side of the bridge.
Well, it's passable for someone on foot, isn't it?
No, no,
No.
nothing. It's completely closed off. No one is supposed to be going over it. It's completely blocked off. No pedestrian, no vehicular traffic. All right, and that is a county bridge. All right. Wow, how about this one? It's getting a little heavy. Study will decide JT building sale. Then just a little bit later, someone had second thoughts. Carbon to buy JT admin building. What? Then I think a week later, what do we have? That's where we had the reversal, not to buy it. So that was a building, Maggie, that the county was going to buy for fair market value based upon the county
Why
appraisal.
don't you say the amount, because
$435,000.
people keep thinking it's $9 million, and it's not $9 million.
No, $9 million was a plan, one of two different plans that Boyle Construction and the team put together of what it would cost if work was done at the required prevailing wage. Again, and that was for the full gamut of what was desired, moving 4 different entities: children and youth services, aging, planning and development, and workforce, Pocono workforce, all in that. But also the use of that building, Maggie, was to give the county the option, should we move ahead with mechanical, electrical, plumbing work in the courthouse, which itself was $6 to $7 million, if the entire courthouse could move operations during the construction renovation period to another location
For a year,
for a year and probably 18 months, I would think, right?
to be
So-
displaced, because otherwise they'd have to do it in phases.
Right, in phases, it's gonna cost at least of a third more. So while people are saying, fiscally conservative, you shouldn't have bought that building, should have bought it for $435,000, and if we only used it for 18 months and sold it, we'd still be
There'd
winners.
be way-
$435,000, maybe another $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 to temporarily relocate the courts for a year or 18 months. But now we're gonna have a nightmare. There's not one individual place that can house the entire court and its enablers. So now the push is gonna be to do it phased or sequentially. The same fight I had with 4476. Wayne and Rocky wanted to do 44 first and 76, or vice versa. It's gonna cost us $500,000. I had to fight them tooth and nail to get concurrent construction. Matter of
We're
fact,
already there, have
Yeah.
them do both.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
Yeah, and so now, the kicker, this courthouse renovation is gonna cost over,
It'll end up costing at least a third more. And you know what? It's not gonna get us,
third more being
like, instead of 6 million, it'll end up being 9 million.
$9 million for the court
Right,
renovation.
so 3 million versus 435,000,
Right.
you know? I
It's
mean, I'm no
crazy.
rocket
And then
scientist.
I know people were very, very excited that Rocky stood his ground and he was like adamant, oh, we don't need to buy that building for $9 million. It was never $9 million.
Right, yeah.
It was only if they decided to do the renovations that Boyle Construction had recommended, would that be?
Well, let me tell
And-
you the kicker, Maggie, right? Did I use that term
No, I
already?
just used it.
Oh, well, I'm gonna reuse that if I can.
Wow.
The fact is, we had a private developer come in.
Right,
He was gonna do the exact Boyle plan, plus give us the parking we needed for $6.3 million. What was gonna happen? We would rent, it was a lease to
lease to
own.
own.
So for 15 years, we would rent the property, and at the end, we would own it. We could either have a balloon at the end, or we could simply pay it throughout the 15 years. For example, at $6.3 million, the rental, quote unquote, the lease fee would be $35,000 a month. Now, that's for 25,000 square feet of office space, plus an additional 9,000 of additional space. But again, in 15 years, we would have owned a building of 25 to 35,000 square feet for $6.3 million. And we would have had the chance to expand well into the future, and it would have met all our needs,
Right,
you know?
but now, you know,
The hammer's gonna drop and people are gonna be whining. It's just gonna be a matter of time.
Dennis commented again that the concrete abutments seem to be new, just needs a deck on the bridge.
Yeah.
Bridge. Oh, on the bridge,
We've done the whole report. It's
Yeah.
beyond repair.
beyond repair.
It has to be demolished or completely redone.
Donna's asked, what's going on with construction in Memorial Hall? Right
That's a
now-
borough issue.
Let me finish the comment.
Yeah.
Right now, we are providing a service to Jim Thorpe Citizens Food Pantry, second Saturday of the month. So that is a Jim Thorpe Borough
It's
issue.
a borough. I think there's just something in the paper, right?
Yeah, there was something in the paper, but they don't have any specifics in there.
No, I think Senator Casey is looking at a potential grant
For
funds
them, yeah.
of $1 million.
Which is
But
what
again,
they-
that's the borough of Jim Thorpe, so.
Right, yeah, so you'd have to ask them
Yeah,
the
with the
availability
statuses.
for, availability for that.
Yeah, but I expect renovations are gonna take place sooner or later. We've already been taxed 2.1%, right? We've already been taxed for it,
Yep,
so.
we have.
All right,
This has been on.
Carbon debates hiring collection agency. That was
Right.
with the clerk of courts.
Sure.
So here we have, what, $6 million of uncollectible money. I don't know if we're gonna get through this. We got about 8 minutes. And we'll be bringing on Christine Leclerc, Mike and Sarah Wargo of the Memorial Mile in just a few minutes. My gosh, I almost have an hour worth of
It
stuff.
goes so fast.
I know. So the Carbon County Clerk of Courts has about $6 million in uncollectible restitution, right?
I
To
mean,
the
they moved
county.
and they didn't leave an address. a
They
forwarding
did, yeah.
address, and-
And I mean, the Clerk of Courts went through their process,
Right.
couldn't get the money.
Exhausted every,
AOPC, the administrative office of the court, Pennsylvania courts, had their collection agency. They couldn't collect it. Now, the plan was to have another third-party collection agency go out, and Rocky and Wayne
no
are continuing.
expense to the taxpayer.
Yeah, this is, again, this is
Ridiculous.
politics.
Yeah,
This
it is. They
clear
just
politics.
they just want
Be
to
an-
be an obstruction to her being able to do her job.
Right,
And
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 again,
it's literally, it's, this money is, not, and it's not just the county, it's like it's for the victim's
it's
restitution.
victim restitution, the county, municipalities, taxpayers,
Yeah.
you know, all people
So
who are
they're
doing money.
blocking her from being able to do that, to be able
And I
to,
recall at last week's meeting, Wayne had said, yeah, put the politics behind us now, the election's over. So I made the motion to go ahead
yeah, because they had
and
said,
hire.
because they had, when
Pencroff.
she brought it up, they said, let's table this until the new, because they were thinking, well, there's gonna be a different clerk of courts.
Au contraire,
Oh,
mon frère.
contraire. And so then Chris brought it back up and they were like, well, obviously politics are still,
Still alive and well,
Mm.
you know, so that's gonna be back on the agenda. Will be the first meeting in December. It's gonna be back on the agenda. I just saw a request to have that on the agenda. Talking about elections, there was a slight misprint on the ballot. I guess they didn't have enough spaces. Lee Heighton didn't inform the director of elections that they needed 3 slots on the ballot for borough council instead of 2. But that got corrected. The ballots got out there. All right, this is Carbon Matters live streaming. I'm Carbon County Commissioner and veteran Chris Lukasevich, joined by my veteran wife, the former Staff Sergeant Maggie Lukasevich. In just about 5 minutes, we're going to be cutting away, and we're going to be joined by Christine Leclerc, the Director of Veterans Affairs, and Sarah and Mike Wargo, who are leading the effort for the Memorial Mile. And we look forward to having a conversation with them here shortly.
Mhm.
A little bit of dead air there. Carbon OKs, 500,000 to Lansford. This is from the railroad sale. As you recall, I think many recall, 500,000 or 25% of the proceeds from the sale go to Lansford, who helped assist with the initial grant so the county could buy the railroad. It was it 81 or so, or it was way back there. It was 91, 81. It slipped in my mind at the time. So they were sent that check. Chris Lukasevich, Facebook low resolution image, $500,000 check, got an uproar, right? Crazy mistake, dumb mistake. politicized by Jean Papay. She didn't tell you about the 7 October event in the Register of Wills office, did she? Oh, forgot to mention that. Interesting. But again, politicized doesn't take away the dumb mistake, but the medicine did more harm than the honest mistake.
Right.
And that's a fact. That's like telling.
The fact that instead of going to him and saying, this is not right, you need to take this down, and he would be like, oh, you're right, I'm so sorry. And then you know, like, it's over. And everyone thinks, well, you're just brushing it under the rug or whatever. With cyber stuff, you don't want to announce it to the world that someone did a, you know.
Well, there's a way, the way you do it in an incident like this, and I talked to the cyber officials from National Association of Counties, County Commissioners Association. Hey, we've had a breach of protocol. We had some information released that was sensitive in nature. We're taking all measures to protect the interests of the county, the taxpayers, and our partners. That's all we'll be saying on this issue. But instead, you tell the Nigerian princes or aspiring Nigerian princes, hey, there's a possible vulnerability out there, which there really wasn't, because this is a one-way holding account. You can't take money, you can't pull money out of it, you can't put money into it except for the county. But it was politicized. Why do I say that? So if this was such a critical threat to the county, why did it take 5 days for individuals to notify the treasurer? They knew on Thursday or Friday of this issue. It wasn't until Tuesday that the treasurer who manages this account was notified. And he wasn't formally notified. He happened to be walking by Wayne's office, and Wayne says, hey, could you come in here a minute, Ron? So this wasn't really a critical issue. It was a political issue.
Right.
It was a dumb mistake on my part, but it was a politicized issue because they thought this was going to hurt the reelection of Tyra Boney, clerk of courts. Let's go, Tyra. That's kind of like, let's go, Brandon.
Wow.
I know. I just,
Okay, so low resolution doesn't mean that you can't see the numbers.
Right, no.
Low
Again,
resolution just means that it's not the high resolution image.
And guess what? It was a check written to Lansford that they still haven't cashed. I don't know if they're going to cash it. I think they might have 180 days to cash it.
Well, they're going to dispute it or whatever, aren't they?
Well, they did hire a lawyer. Hey, so this is Carbon County Commissioner Chris Lukasevich. I have a ton of stuff still to go through. I do want to mention one thing really before we break away and let in our guests. I want to thank the Patriot from Jim Thorpe. Hope you can see this, who sent me this card. I just want to call him, let's call him John.
John.
Right, John, thank you so much for this card and this note, plus many others who reached out over the last couple of weeks. This was great.
Yeah.
He hit the proverbial nail on the head. No one's hiding anything from John.
Right.
All right, thank you, John, so much.
I got to meet him on election day.
All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead. I'm going to bring in our friends. Admit. All right, let's see.
Let's just hope everything's.
All right. So saying Sally, Sarah. You tell me, Sarah, what's going on here? So I see Sarah, I see Sally. How is this going back and forth?
There are 5 Sarahs in my family.
So
Okay.
you decided to change your name.
But legally I'm Sarah.
And that's what, and it's interesting because I keep flip-flopping things I'm writing, and like I'm looking at the calling card that you and Mike have, and it clearly says Sarah.
Yes.
I have some other names, but I can't say them here.
Right. Right.
You're
Well,
not gonna do video?
are you guys going to do videos, Sarah and Mike? And what about you, Christine?
There we go.
Okay, great. How about you, Sarah and Mike? Were you going to do video?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
Can you see
Yeah,
us?
Great,
Yeah.
because we are live streaming right now. We're in the second half hour of Carbon Matters, And this is the point where we wanted to really change the focus to veteran issues. I'm going to use the term. I mean, issues often has a negative connotation, but this is really going to be an uplifting and positive conversation. And what Maggie and I hope to do is we're going to start the conversation by talking to Christine for a few minutes about her office and the duties and responsibilities that she and her staff have. And then I think we have a natural segue kind of shift into the advocacy that Mike and Sarah are doing here on the home front.
Yes.
All right. Does that sound good to everyone?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
First of all, are we coming through okay? Can you see us and hear us?
No, we cannot see you. We
can
see
hear
the
you.
word Sally loud and clear. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, we can kind of see half the heads. There we go. Perfect. Hey, I got to ask you, where are you guys at right now? Because I know you're not in Lehighton, Mahoning Township area.
Correct. We're in Florida. We're about an hour below Tampa.
Okay, great.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think we're going to be crossing paths here in the next week or so. You know,
Okay.
all right. It might be in flight or in car or something, but I think we're going to be
We're gonna
crossing
be going
paths.
down there.
So, you know, today I just had our National Association of Counties, I'm a vice chair of the Veterans and Military Services Committee, and we were talking about some of the census data. Now, the 2020 census, you know, the 10-year decennial data hasn't been published yet in regards to the number of veterans. We expect that to be coming out in March. But, you know, Pennsylvania does have 4.15% of the veterans in the United States. Now, that doesn't sound much, but it's actually the fourth largest population of veterans in the United States. Texas, California, and Florida are the top three, and not necessarily in that order. So we have an extremely large veteran population in Pennsylvania, and Carbon County has one of the highest per capita populations in the state of the 67 counties. And I will say, knowing from my Civil War history, Carbon County sent more men off to the Civil War to fight for the North than any other county in Pennsylvania. So just a little bit about the history of Pennsylvania. But Christine, I want to turn it over to you. If you could give us, and I have a few questions already prepared, but could you give us a succinct overview of the duties and responsibilities that you, Bonnie, and Angelo have in your office to servicing of veterans and family members of veterans when necessary?
Sure. So Bonnie, Angelo, and I are all accredited service officers. Bonnie and I are full-time and Angelo is part-time. Angelo is a U.S. Army veteran, and so am I. So we file claims for compensation, pension, aid in attendance to help out with nursing home and personal care home costs. We also file state benefits, so the real estate tax exemption, paralyzed veterans pension, blind veterans pension, education benefits, veteran temporary assistance. There's more. We help veterans enroll for healthcare at the Veterans Health Administration. We help file for grants. So if individuals find themselves falling on a hard time due to loss of a job or an unexpected expense or something like that, they could come in and we could possibly help file a grant for that. We do help homeless veterans. We file for the burial allowances. We do the markers and flags that you see at the cemeteries. And we also have a DAV van that runs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday up to the Wilkes-Barre VA. And we have volunteers who drive that.
So you really have a multifaceted, really broad expanse of services you provide. And where do you provide those services out of? Where you are located? How do veterans get in contact with you in regards to the services that your office provides, Christine?
So we just moved from the annex or the administration building down to 76 Susquehanna. We are on the first floor, so very accessible for veterans. We do have the parking spot moved with us, fortunately. So it's right in the adjacent parking lot. So they don't need to cross the street, worry about traffic, anything like that. They could just park on the side of the building there in the veterans spot. We schedule appointments to make sure it's open for our vets who come in. So they have a place to park and they could go right in the first floor there. We do have a lot of people in wheelchairs and walkers and things like that. So this is really a great place for us to be able to accommodate them.
Right. So it made it much more accessible, that move down to 76 Susquehanna versus where we had them up. You were up on the second level with your team. We had a veteran parking spot, but it was across 209, right? Or Lehigh,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, Christine, do you provide any services to spouses of family of veterans?
Sure. A lot of those benefits could also pass on to the spouses. There's dependency and indemnity compensation. So if a veteran is 100% and they pass away, or other instances, they could possibly receive some of the money that they were receiving before they passed. And then the aid and attendance benefit also could be for spouses, survivor's pension, things like that. So there are a lot of benefits available for spouses too.
Well, that's great. So I know you said you have a new part-time hire, Angelo, an Army veteran. What is does he have a specific focus of his job?
So Angelo has been concentrating on outreach, which is fantastic. He's gone to 3 senior centers so far this month. He does have 2 more coming up. He's going to the Panther Valley Senior Center on November 18th at 11 o'clock. And Lehighton Senior Center, November 22nd at 10:45.
Okay.
So everyone's been thrilled to have him there. He talks about all of the things that we're able to offer. So many people didn't even know that we existed. So it's great that he's going out and reaching those veterans that we haven't been able to reach.
Right. Let me go ahead. You have a
I
question?
just said awesome.
All right. Christine, I often see you Wednesdays at 8:30 over in Judge Matika's courtroom. Explain to the people what that is about.
Sure. We also have Veterans Treatment Court in the county. So veterans who find themselves involved in the justice system, there are supports available to address addiction issues or anything like that. We have mentors that are provided through our office to kind of help them navigate the system and just be an extra level of support for them.
All right, great. Hey, a couple of things that were reiterated at today's meeting of NACO's Veterans and Military Affairs Committee was, the CVSO Act, which is HR 4601, Senate 2405. They expect that to start picking up some momentum after the reconciliation takes place here. And that, again, is to ensure there are more resources going to VSOs such as yourself in your office. And that's something it's at the point where we need additional sponsors. So Senator Casey on the Senate side, Senator Toomey, though, he's getting ready to finish up, and then Dan Muser on the Congress side. So we really need to get together and write some letters from yourself and the Board of Commissioners to make sure they're supporting that. The other big issue continues to be toxic exposure. The president did host a couple events yesterday, trying to, again, get that service connection to toxic exposure, so burn pits. And I would mention to the public, regardless of if you like or don't like Jon Stewart and his humor or political ideology, he's done a great segment on his new show on Apple TV on toxic exposure in burn pits. And it's really worth a watch. And it really is the toxic exposure 101 and talks about the threat that has posed. But I'm getting ready here in a couple minutes to transition to Mike and Sarah. Christine, And so I think a perfect way to finish up with you and what your office does is talk about Together with Veterans, which I would say is probably the newest program that you're assisting with the spearheading. And I want to clarify for county residents, Carbon County, be it the government, is simply serving as the administrative facilitator of the program. I don't want to say it's Carbon County's program. This is a quasi-independent program, which, if I understand correctly, is Together with Veterans Northeast PA, which is one of about 21 current programs across the country with a few developing. Can you talk a little bit about Together with Veterans, Christine?
Sure. So Together with Veterans Northeast PA, as you said, is our new suicide prevention and awareness program. When I took over from Henry 2 years ago, one of the first things that I noticed was that we were experiencing a high level of veteran suicide within the county. So I started to work with our coroner and approach the commissioners, and I really wanted to do something, and I thought it was going to be very grassroots and just do an education program that I would kind of have to come up with myself. So in working with the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, I expressed my interest to them to put something together to help address this issue in Carbon County. And they learned of Together with Veterans, which was just starting to pop up here and there across the US. So Carbon was able to be the pilot program in Pennsylvania, and we are so fortunate that we were selected to be able to do that here. So we received a $100,000 grant from the Veterans Health Administration Office of Rural Health to help us start this program and get things going here in Carbon. So we've been doing a SWOT analysis, a lot of community outreach events to just kind of gauge where we're at with the community. And we know that there's still a lot of stigma out there, and that's one of the biggest obstacles that we're going to need to overcome. But we have great people on our steering committee. I know Mike and Sally they sat in on a meeting, which was fantastic. We have the Veterans Health Administration, St. Luke's. I was just at an event with Lehigh Valley Health Network today. They're looking to come on board, which is great. Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, the Scranton Vet Center. We have a retired chaplain, Carbon Monroe Pike Mental Health. Just everyone really was very open to coming on board and helping us address this issue.
No, that's great. What a great program, great initiative. And our gratitude to you and the others who are taking this on and being the tip of the spear to this. I do want to mention, before I transition here, I want to mention the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. You know, they've been focusing on hidden heroes. And so that is primarily the spouses who've been assisting veterans. But they have just launched now, which I think have done a lot of research on hidden helpers. So this is children and adolescents, 18 and younger, who are in families where there's a disabled veteran. And the challenge that they have being in this unique, often stressful environment that many other children don't necessarily have due to the unique needs of military veterans and what they're facing. And I just want to highlight that. I think I might have sent you some information on that, Christine, but NACO's very integrated with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Not to throw another thing out there, but again, just another one to be aware of.
I'll just add that to the
I know. What's your phone number down there, Christine, at your office? 570-325?
3986.
3986. 570-325-3986. Well, thank you so much. So Together with Veterans is about veteran suicide. So I'm going to turn to Mike and Sarah, and we're going to get a little bit personal about the advocacy and the effort that Mike and Sarah have been leading. And I think if anyone has been on Sergeant Stanley Boulevard, you can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, and Sally, or Sarah, I'm gonna be going back and forth. So the War at Home Monument, right? You were strong advocates and leads on the War at Home Monument. Am I correct on that?
Michael was nominated to be part of that memorial by
Mhm.
Mark Bayless of Valor.
Okay.
There are 20 veterans represented in the original memorial, which is in Oklahoma right now. And the section that they cut out, they sent to each family. And when we received ours, we didn't know what to do with it. It's
Mhm.
1,000 pounds, it's steel, it's huge, 10 feet tall. And Doyle Heffley helped us to make that decision to put it on Sergeant Stanley Huffman Boulevard.
Okay. So could you tell the public a little bit about your impetus, your motivation? What has led you in your lives to be such strong advocates for the mental health and welfare of veterans and the challenges they face at home?
Well, we lost our son Michael over 8 years ago to suicide, and no parent should have to bury their children.
Mhm.
So we just took it upon ourselves to try to pave the way to maybe help other people, other veterans, not have to go through what we're going through. We want to try to maybe save them or say there's another way. And one of the reasons we put Michael's statue down there on Sergeant Stanley Huffman Boulevard, Doyle Heffley said there's going to be lots of traffic down there, and there is a lot of foot traffic with the Lehighton Outdoor Center and some other facilities that may be going in there. Our thought and hope is maybe some veteran that maybe is struggling will look over there and say, what the hell is that? And he
Right.
walks over and reads Michael's story, and there's three references to seek help: Valor, TAPS, and Mission Barbecue. No, Mission
22.
22. Mission
Yeah.
22.
Correct. Yeah, they were the ones that were basically built the statue.
Yeah.
They cut the stat. We furnished pictures to Mission 22, and they took the pictures with a 4-foot by 10-foot piece of steel, and they burned out the silhouette. Okay, so that the part that's burnt out is the part that you see there in Lehighton. But again, our mission is to we have to start getting people to talk about this suicide, because if you don't talk about it, it's just swept under the rug, and it's been swept under the rug for too long. We need to start talking about it and raise awareness and say, hey, it's okay if you have issues. It's, talk about it.
Military suicide is preventable. That's a big deal.
Mhm.
Military suicide is preventable. So why are we in this situation?
And I know just from reading some of the material, like Mission 22, we think about 22 veterans a day committing suicide, but most of us suspect that number is underreported, correct?
Exactly right.
That's only those that reported their PTSD and sought help. Michael isn't one of those.
Michael's not included in that number. Someone who wants to take their life and overdoses on drugs, well, that's classified as an overdose. Well, it's really a suicide. Someone who wants to drive down a road and drive over a bank to kill themselves, that's an accident. Well, no, it's
Right.
really a suicide. So if you put all those numbers in there, that number is a heck of a lot larger than 22.
Mhm. So now, though, today you've taken this desire to raise awareness from the local level and have really taken it to the national level with a national monument for casualties of the war at home. Can you talk about the Memorial Mile? What's it about? What's the vision for it? What's the timeline for it? What's the level of support that you've been able to gather so far for the Memorial Mile?
This is a Valor clinic dream. And we got involved because we want to see it succeed. It's needed, it's necessary to honor the service of the veterans who served our country, survived the war, and then came home and died. They
Mhm.
are not honored for their service. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is to bring awareness to the fact that it's not talked about.
Mhm.
So when you see the trifold for the Memorial Mile that Mark Bayless designed, it'll be
Mhm.
on the property up in Carbon County in Kidder Township. Yep.
Yeah.
And right next to that property where the memorial will be will also be the retreat where they're going to try and help the veterans survive the war at home. And it's survivable. We just have to have the right technique and talk to them in the way they need to be spoken to, so they know we care, and they can tell the counselors anything and
Mhm.
share with the other veterans, on the site how they're feeling. And a veteran speaking to another veteran is success.
This retreat facility will house up to 26 veterans and their spouse if needed, to try to transition them from war back to peace.
Yeah.
And it's a hard process, because how do you just turn off what you've experienced for months and possibly years and just acclimate yourself back into society? In addition, on this property is we're going to be building this memorial mile, and it's going to be a national memorial mile. It's not just a Pennsylvania thing. This is from Pennsylvania to California to Alaska.
Mhm.
There's going to be a 1 mile pathway throughout the campus. And
Mhm.
our vision is to set up 4 foot by 8 foot, 8-inch granite panels for
Mhm.
every state in the country in the 2 districts. And our goal is to find the names of approximately 160,000 veterans, 160,000 service members that have taken their lives, and put their name on that wall, because it's time that their sacrifice is also remembered and respected, and families could come, kind of like the Vietnam Wall, but only 3 times the size of that.
Right.
8,000 names on the Vietnam Wall. Well, we're looking like at 160,000 names
Mhm.
to put on this wall. And again, it's from Pennsylvania to California.
And it's a living memorial, meaning every May, unfortunately, the new names from that year will be added.
Mhm.
So unless we stop it. So we've sent out mass mailings to families through the
Mhm.
Gold Star Mothers and the Blue Star Mothers and the Legions and VFWs to get the names, because someone knows these military people who died by suicide. And we
Right.
need their names to put on the memorial. We need a release of information form signed. And we're making progress, but it's very slow. We're not sure. There is a suicide data repository, which we learned from Henry a couple of years ago, but we're civilians and we have no access to that.
We haven't gotten to the right person who has the right clearance to get that information. But just SDR, Suicide Data Repository, sounds like that would be the document that we would need. But again, we've talked to senators and representatives, people in the VA. I even spoke to an Adam Walsh who works in the Department of Defense in Washington, D.C. in the Suicide Prevention Office. And I thought that was going to be it. Well, nothing happens. So we're struggling, but we're not giving up. It's going to be a long battle, and we're into it to accomplish our goal.
Right, in it for the long haul. That's a beautiful property. I was up there 2 or 3 months ago. I know there's just then call it the bohio, or the covered area was up there. There were the pavilion. Yeah, there were veterans up there fishing. A beautiful stream runs through that property up there in Kidder Township. So it's a beautiful area. I can see where it's going to be a very tranquil a mile that's going to provide a great opportunity for reflection as individuals move through that area. And then the retreat and the vision for the retreat that Mark and Valor has is just incredible. I think it's going to be a great asset to the veteran community, just like all the programs that Valor Clinic currently runs for veterans and beyond, really. And I know
this is done with grants and donations. We've actually hired a grant writer to help with the Memorial Mile. We're hoping to hear something soon, positive in the raising of the funds, and maybe the LSA grant could help with that. We're just two parents doing what we can.
Mark
Yeah,
has been
and-
trying unsuccessfully, probably for about 5-6 years, to get some money from the LSA grant, and it always just seems that we're always coming up a little bit short. Because again, we're not going to raise this kind of money sitting at tables at the fairs and stuff
No.
Yeah.
like that, talking to people.
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen.
No.
You know, we need some big help.
We did have a walk in Carbon County on May 22nd.
Yep.
And that was on the DNL Trail. And that was very well attended. I was so surprised.
Mhm.
People do care. They really do.
Yep.
And the families need this.
Mhm.
We can't forget about the families left behind.
Right, that's a great point. Mike, Sarah, is there a proposed budget? Is there a dollar amount attached to the Memorial Mile? I mean, are we looking at, 1.5 million, 3 million? Do you know what we need to get it truly off the ground and going?
I don't believe we're there yet. I may be wrong. Mark would probably have better,
Okay,
numbers
Yeah.
on that, but again, we're not there yet. That I
Okay.
know.
We're estimating 3 panels will cost about $5,500.
okay,
And that's just basic gray color. We
Right.
let go the color yellow. We're gonna do yellow because
I
that's
saw
the
that.
color of veteran suicide in Pennsylvania. But that is so marbleized, you won't be able to read the names. It's a very busy granite. So we've decided the gray is simple. You can
Mhm.
highlight the names. They'll be easily seen by the people walking by. So, the granite supplier will power wash it on a regular basis to keep it
Mhm.
pristine and beautiful.
Well, no, that's great. And I just want to tell everyone, you can donate by PayPal using the email address valorclinic1@gmail.com. Again, you can donate by PayPal using email address valorclinic1@gmail, or you can reach out to Valor Clinic, and I'll just give the phone number at 570-778-5660. That's 570, Maggie's typing it in the chat, I'm assuming. 570-778-5660. That's Valor Clinic. And we're discussing the Memorial Mile, which is an effort by Valor Clinic. Its strongest advocates, Michael and Sarah Wargo of Carbon County, Pennsylvania. And I want to thank you, Mike and Sarah, for what you are doing on the home front for our veterans, to take the pain and suffering in your lives and really energizing it to raise awareness to an issue. And got goosebumps now thinking about it, raising awareness of this issue, advocating for veterans to open up and discuss the issues and concerns that they have that could unfortunately lead them down a path that we don't want them to take, and we surely don't want their loved ones to suffer from, to have to deal with at any time, be it the spouses, children, or other relatives, parents. So again, on this Veterans Day, I want to thank you, Mike, Sarah. I want to thank you, Christine, Angelo, and Bonnie, for everything all of you do to support our veterans in Carbon County and truly and beyond. We're so grateful to have individuals like yourselves in our community. We are truly blessed for that. I hope you guys have a wonderful remainder of your Veterans Day. We look forward to connecting with you guys in the very near term again. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
service.
support.
All right, take care, guys. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night. This is Carbon County Commissioner Chris Lukasevich, Army veteran, and I've been joined by my wife, Maggie. I want to thank you all for joining us on Carbon Matters tonight. It's been a great hour. I think we've been blessed having Christine, Mike, and Sarah join us tonight. I'll be back in probably about a month for Carbon County. I'm going to be doing a Carbon County Government 101. That's going to be a unitary solo act by me, just talking about county government, trying to educate the residents of Carbon County about county government, what it does, what it doesn't do, the fact that we manage county government, we don't manage the county. So again, thank you so much. Each and every one of you have a wonderful Veterans Day. This is Chris and Maggie. God bless you all. Good night. Night. Good night. Let me see if I can get out of here.